It is important to remember every day that Russians live in Vladimir Putin's parallel universe, told by the Kremlin propaganda machine that Ukraine belongs to Russia and is run by Nazis, told the war is just and that it is going well, told the images from Bucha that clearly show Russian atrocities are fake, part of a fabrication meant to smear Russia.
Russia has requested an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council in connection with the blatantly cruel provocation by Ukrainian Nazis in the town of Bucha in Kiev region. Fake atrocities were instantly blamed on Russian army. Foreign media began to spread it synchronously and without a break.
Here to share his insights, the former CIA Chief of Russia Operations and CNN National Security Analyst Steve Hall. Steve, grateful for your time. That is the parallel universe that Russians see. It was not the Russians that requested that meeting. It was the West after the Russian atrocities in Bucha. It was Zelensky who addressed. But how? Is there anything the United States and its allies can do to crack that, to try to get more truth to the Russian people?
Yeah, I think there is, John, and I think we're working on that, or at least I hope we're behind the scenes as a government. I mean, we've for a long time had, Voice of America, Radio Free Europe, alternatives to try to broadcast, essentially the truth into places that were formerly behind the Iron Curtain. And so I hope that there are things going on behind the scenes, probably technical things to make sure that information gets through. But I also wouldn't rule out the possibility of young tech-savvy Russians who actually want to get at the truth. Perhaps they don't want to make a big deal out of it, but they do want access. And I think they're trying to find ways around a lot of the firewalls that the Russian government has erected around the internet.
And one of the things the United States and NATO allies, other countries are trying to do with all these sanctions is put economic pressure on Putin, maybe stir up some dissent within Russia by making it so hard for Russians to do normal everyday business. Today, sanctions on 2 of Putin's adult daughters. Obviously, it sends an important symbolic message. Does it do anything to get under Vladimir Putin's skin?
I think it probably does, and it's not necessarily that Vladimir Putin is a warm and loving father. Somehow I just don't see that. So it's a little bit less that he's that concerned, I think, about his daughters. But it does show that, sort of like a mafia boss, if you are a mafia boss, if you are Tony Soprano, your family is a potential liability. It's something that your adversaries can target and try to manipulate against you. And so I think that's part of like a closing of the walls around Putin, perhaps, if he begins to see that from the West. It's going to have more of a psychological impact, I think, than an actual, economic impact.
On the military front, senior U.S. defense official says the Russians have now completely withdrawn from the Kyiv area, from the Chernihiv area, a bit more to the northeast of Kyiv, gone back into Belarus, gone back across the border into Russia in some cases. But there's still a debate about what next for them and whether Vladimir Putin would again launch an offensive on Kyiv. The NATO Secretary General says he believes Putin still wants all of Ukraine, not just a piece of it. How do you assess, when you see these changes by Russia, what do you assess as the reasons for them and the what next?
Well, the first part of the war is over, and Putin lost the first part of the war, much to his chagrin. I think he was told it was going to be no problem. So now we're in the second phase where decisions have to be made on the Russian side. I would agree with General Milley's comments that this is probably going to turn into a long-term thing because, as you just alluded to, I don't think Vladimir Putin's going to say, okay, so it didn't work well for the first part of this, but I'll just settle for the Donbass area and, maybe part of the South as well. That's not a victory for him. It's not something that he can sell at home, I don't think. And it doesn't usually go well for Russian and, in the past, Soviet leaders who have not been able to fulfill their military promises. So I think I think we're going to be in this for the long run, and it's going to be a war of attrition, and it's going to be very hard on Ukraine.
And if you're in it for the long run, back to the question about the information war, you talked about young Russians, you talked about the United States or other allies trying to use whatever assets at their disposal. If you were in your old job, what would you be trying to do right now?
I really hope, and something that I would be absolutely interested in was, okay, what are the best technical ways that we can help the Russians get access to this information? Because that's what's really critical. The reason that you're seeing high popularity numbers for Putin, the reason that you're seeing support for this war is because Putin is spoon-feeding his own population as to what is going on. And, of course, it's all propaganda. So we have to find ways, both technical means, but also just stuff that's already out there, sort of on the open market that